Second.
All those in favor of going into executive session on those two items, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are in executive session.
Madam President and board members, we're not in meeting, but I know Alma's going to leave. I just wanted to say thank you to her and to Ruth. They really worked hard to have this be seamless and to have the meeting here. It was no easy task, so thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you very much.
so weird to look at these plaques, and every one of them are different now since I started, except for mine.
Well,
It's a big turnaround in 4 years.
I'm the newbie.
Well, a lot of people are somewhat new.
Yeah.
How are y'all?
Oh,
How are y'all?
I'm the newbiest
Yes, and the youngest, right?
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think by
We
10
won't
years.
hold that against
I think
you.
by more than 10 years, actually.
If you're good, you're good.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
For you?
Hey, Gabe. How are you?
Right. Yeah. Debbie, hi. Good, how you doing? Good. Good. See you in a while either.
Can I steal a couple of these chairs? My
Sure,
toes?
yeah. I'm starting over at Christie.
Is her name please? I don't know. That might be it.
That would be an indication.
What's the,
Look, we
the
can
internet?
trade places anytime.
You go to the, and then go to setup.
Thank you so much.
SFCC Wi-Fi setup. Fourth one.
All right.
And it'll text you a code you'll need.
Yeah, what?
It'll text you a code. It'll show you how to do it, but it'll text you a code.
That's what I knew. That's what I was going to that'll be enough. I'm so sorry. We will need all of those. You're gonna be worried. She's like, are we turning her cell phone? Oh, your cell phone.
Oh, thank you. Sorry to see that. That would drive me crazy. We've already lost one bag somehow.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Sorry, we need one without arms for the shelf. Can we just trade this out?
Let's see if it works. Didn't work earlier.
Can I
What's
trade
that?
you chairs?
Yes,
The Wi-Fi.
this one's not looking
It's
good.
working for me.
You went to the Wi-Fi setup?
Yeah. Had no problems with it. It's a little slow, but it's not bad.
Let's find this one.
No luck? Huh.
It says no internet. Open.
Open up a new window. New Chrome window. Go to whatever any website. Just type in, Google.com. Doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, I'd say try Firefox.
Okay, welcome. It's March 3rd. The microphone appears to be on. And we are here with the meeting of the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education. We're just coming back from executive session. Secretary Garcia.
Madam President, before we go to that order of business, I'd just like to recognize ex-school board member as well as our state representative, Linda Trujillo, for being in the audience. Thank you for being here, State Representative. Madam President, I would actually like to make a motion to have the Board of Education come out of executive session where we talked about threatening or pending litigation. which is Turquoise Trail Charter School, as well as item B, collective bargaining, and which no action was taken.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay. Dr. Gonzalez seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are back from executive session. Now we are on to the introduction of the interpreter. Is that you, Herman?
Buenas tardes, Presidente Noble, miembros de la Junta Escolar y Superintendente Doctora García. Mi nombre es Germán Martínez y serviré como intérprete. Si alguien ocupa estos servicios, por favor levante la mano. Good afternoon. My name is Germán Martínez. Board President Noble, board members, Superintendent Dr. Garcia. My name is Germán Martínez, and I'll provide any translation or interpreting services. Anybody who would like those services, please raise your hand, and I'll provide those at the back of the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, we are on to the school board showcase. Thank you all students for being here, families as well. And we will start with the Mandela International Magnet School Lion Orchestra. Is the leader here? Is that you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the orchestra and what you're going to play, if you would please.
Thank you so much for having us here. My name is Carla Conjugas. I'm the orchestra director at Mandela International Magnet School. Today we have 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. Some of these students began this year. Some of them have been playing for 6 or 7 or 8 years. So it's a real mixed level. We're going to play 2 pieces, if that's okay. The first piece is called Brandenburg's 5th Concerto. This is the first movement by Bach. And then we will play a little bit of the Pachelbel's Canon. So come on up, students, and we'll do Bach. Thank you for joining us in the audience so that we don't go back to Brandenburg's first.
Thank you very much to all of you for coming. That was really lovely. We'll be way more calm and collected now. That was lovely. Okay, we are still getting to enjoy the school board showcase. We are now on to the early college opportunities Trout in the Classroom project.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I'd like to have Assistant Superintendent Larry Martinez to set up Larry Chavez. You know, I know a Larry Martinez. I've been doing that all day today, just pulling names randomly from my past. Former pet employee Larry Martinez. Larry Chavez, thank you, sir.
I get the opportunity to introduce ECO and their project, Trout in the Classroom, led by their principal, Mr. Michael Hagley. Michael's been with the district for 20 years. He's actually been a substitute teacher when he first started out. He served as an assistant principal at Capitol High School for 5 years, and he's been the directing principal for ECO for the last 2 years. So I want to introduce Michael Hagley, directing principal for ECO.
Thank you, Larry. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, President Noble, members of the board. Thank you for inviting us this evening. I'd like to introduce our auto mechanics teacher, John Seymour. Mr. Seymour is an accomplished English teacher and is leading our auto mechanics program to the leading edge of where the technology is evolving into in the industry related to auto mechanics, as well as alignment with our local business and industry partners. Mr. Seymour is always looking for opportunities to engage students in their learning, whether that be through reading or writing, auto mechanics, motorcycle repair, archery, trout in the classroom, remote controlled airplanes, and the list goes on and on. So Mr. John Seymour.
Hello there. My name is John Seymour, and I am the auto mechanics and motorcycle mechanics teacher at ECO. The students have really done the majority of the work here with Trout in the Classroom project. The slideshow that you're about to see was actually put together by Gabby Garza, who's a student right here, and she's really going to be doing most of the talking. I'm just going to hit the button and kind of go slide to slide. So, Gabby Garza and Tanya Juarez, and then my daughter Eliza Seymour has been involved in this as well, and she's a student at Cesar Chavez. And then Christy Philbin is the one who's overseeing Trout in the Classroom. And from what I understand, there are 14 schools like us that are involved in Santa Fe Public Schools raising trout. And we'll take questions at the end of the slideshow.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Alrighty, so I guess we will go ahead and get started with the presentation. So this is a short list of the small things we are going to be going over in this presentation. So just kind of down the line, if like a heads up of what to expect during the presentation. Okay. So the Truchas chapter is part of the Trout Unlimited, which is what we've been using as like the utilities and what's been provided to us to raise these trout in our classroom. And this is some small information about what they do as far as like restoring like some of the trout and fish in North America waters and helping to make sure that there's a plenty supply and that like we don't like lose supply of our fish like in our natural rivers. So Trout Unlimited. And then this is the startup for trout, and this is just based off of our information from what we started with. So our tank size is 55 gallons, and it holds approximately 50 trout fish. And the tank temperature is about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold. And we will keep our fish up until fingerlings, which is about 3.5 months old, until we release them. And then this is kind of like a list of the cycle, like the life cycle of eggs, and then once they hatch and they still have the yolk sac on the bottom of them as their food source, and then fry kind of, they're hanging around the bottom of the rocks, like at the bottom of the tank to make sure that it's like, it's hard to explain, like helps them rub off that extra like egg sac. And then fingerling and par, which is like 2 to 5 inches. Juvenile, when they start getting their color and start to grow into their size and get all their spots and stripes and all that. And then adult once they reach their full size and get all their color. And then here is a small slide of just the picture of each stage listed for you guys. And then these are the different kinds of trout found in New Mexico. And then we will be releasing them hopefully in the Pecos River, which starts in New Mexico and ends in Texas, where it merges into the Rio Grande. And it's about 926 miles long. So they will have plenty of, not just like starting and keeping them in New Mexico, they will spread all throughout the whole Pecos River. And then Villanueva State Park is where we're going to be releasing them. So it's about 20 miles south of, between Pecos and Las Vegas, so south of I-25. And this is just a state park where it's just had, it was like a religious center and an agriculture outpost for a long time, beginning in 1967, so for the last 30 years. And this is where, like, it's got a nice little picture of where we're going to be releasing them. Are there any questions?
What kind of trout are you raising of all the different kinds?
I'm trying to remember. I think they are rainbow trout, but they were genetically made, right? Right. And so they are all females, so they cannot reproduce. So we are just releasing female trout into the Pecos River because they were genetically made like that, and they are rainbow trout.
And the reason for that is that we're trying to protect the Rio Grande cutthroat trout, which is the native trout species. And if we released the rainbow trout and they were able to mate with the cutthroat trout, the cutthroat trout would start to go away. So we don't want to affect that, and I'm sure that Ms. Belvin is going to talk to that as well. But we're trying to protect the native species as well as provide abundant resources for the state sportsmen to go out and fish and just take care of the ecosystem.
What stage are they in now?
They are slowly getting out of that fry stage and starting to become fingerlings. They're like just barely lost their little egg sacs. That was their food source. So now we are starting to feed them once a day to kind of get them started into becoming more of independent eaters instead of depending on what they had. So teaching them the natural ability to just eat and
find food in a river.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Now I just lost it. I don't remember what I was going to ask you, but I have something else I'll ask you. Have you been to the biofuels program here where they're raising tilapia?
I saw it when I came to get like a tour of the school for, I think it was like a month or two back. We were touring the school.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to catch a glimpse of that, which was very interesting. And this is kind of cool because a lot of the kids that helped, like a few of them that helped out with this, with the trout in the classroom, also were from like our greenhouse program that have their own fish in the greenhouse, and they're kind of like contributing to kind of help people like me who didn't understand it at first, like know how to test the water, like for the pH levels and the, like, I'm trying to remember, yeah, the ammonia levels and stuff like that in the water. So they were very helpful.
So you have to feed them every day?
At least once a day now that they don't have the egg sac as their food source.
What do you do on the weekends?
Our little helper right here comes in on the weekend.
Okay.
Which I think is very nice because she's very young and she's learning about this, and she learned how to test the waters at a very young age, which is, I think, very educational.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Secretary Garcia.
Just really quick, comment as of this is one of the great presentations that we have in front of us all the time, and this is really good. This northern New Mexico, beautiful country, beautiful outdoor stuff, and it's actually good to see the younger generation getting involved into what the outdoors provides, especially in northern New Mexico. One of the things that I never realized is the silver minnow. It's probably been around before on some controversial, challenging litigation way before you all were born, but I never realized that the silver minnow, what it does is it eats a lot of the algae in the river, in the Rio Grande, and that's one of the most important things as into for the ecology of the river, as into why many senators actually wanted to save the silver minnow, because it actually helps out the whole ecology. But this is actually a good presentation because this allows for the younger generation to get involved in the outdoors, because like I said, northern New Mexico is a beautiful place, beautiful country out there. And so thank you for your portion of the presentation.
Thank you. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President. And if you already answered this, I apologize, but why did you all pick this project and how many students are involved?
I think there's about 5 or 6 students involved so far, because it's our first year with it. Yeah, this is our first year, so it's barely starting up. So there's about 5 or 6 students, and hopefully more will join in when it comes time to release them, because we're probably thinking of releasing them on Earth Day, which would be very nice.
And that's 5 or 6 at ECO, but I'm sure Ms. Philbin could talk more about how many students are involved.
Christy Philbin. I've been with the district for about 10 years, and I'm also a member of Trout Unlimited. The Truchas chapter has been instrumental in getting this program into the Santa Fe Public Schools. So we have about 14 schools right now. The librarian at Gonzales has about 47 kids that go to the release. We have between 25 and 50 students that come to each release, and there's 14 schools, so it does impact a lot of students. And yeah, it's a great program, and each teacher uses their own curriculum. They integrate their curriculum with however they see fit with the students that they're serving. So TU is responsible for helping with the setup, delivering the fish, and then we do a release, and we also partner with Game and Fish. So there's fishing opportunities, there's bug collecting and identifying, sometimes there's bird watching, there's a lot of different ways that it can be integrated. So I've been with the program for about 10 years.
Are there any other questions?
How many of the trout get names before the end?
We have one named.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Unless we have other questions? Thank you very much. This is wonderful.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you being here. And over spring break, somebody will be feeding them, right? Is that?
And I would like to invite any of the board members to come to any of the releases. I can go ahead and forward you the dates that they're being released. It's a really wonderful experience, and it's really good. It's just a great community building experience.
Thank you. We'd love that. At Gonzales, it's a very big deal and can even be competitive as to who gets to go to the release, I believe. So, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the union update, and we don't have the president of the union, NEA Santa Fe, here today. She did text to say that there would be no report today other than to thank Dr. Garcia for her persistence in getting the appropriate mid-year increase to the unit value at SFPS. So that's not quite official yet. A little bit of news about an adjustment to our unit value that we anticipate the official word from the Public Education Department sometime soon. So that's the text union update, if you will.
Thank you.
We are on to public forum. Mr. Carl, are you managing public forum?
Board President Noble, Superintendent Garcia, members of the board, yes I am. And I'm going to go over the ground rules before we get started. First, please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Number 2, please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. Number 3, no sharing of time. Number 4, self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. I'll give you a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue is allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Number 7, please search for answers on common ground. Number 8, you may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. And number 9, please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. We have one person here for public forum today. If we could have Mr. Matt Kreitman come on up.
And if I may, is there anyone else who would like to speak at public forum who wasn't able to sign up before we pulled the list? Now's your chance to jump in. Okay, seeing none, welcome Mr. Kreitman.
Madam President and board members, thank you. My name is Matt Kreitman, K-R-E-I-T-M-A-N. I am the Vice President of a local group, Bike Santa Fe. We are the leading educational and advocacy bike group as opposed to recreational groups or such like. Effectively, that means we are involved in almost any activity that involves making Santa Fe a more bike-friendly community. And recently, we have been increasing our activities across the public school system. In the first week of May, we will be holding our second League of American Bicyclists Certified Instructor Program. As we are quite well financed this year, we are fortunate to be able to offer scholarships to 6 public school teachers to take this nationally certified instructor training. This will be the second year we've held this program. Last year, we trained 3 teachers, and all of them now are actively involved in shall we say, embryonic programs at different schools. Camino Real, we have a Strider bike program going on involving 2 teachers. Here at the master's program, we are teaching a bunch of teenagers who hopefully will become the mechanics to several of our other programs. On it goes. We would like the board's support in these activities and ongoing activities that we have coming up. It is a good time for bikes in the public school system. As you may know, the City Council last week approved a $50,000 matching grant to match the $250,000 grant from the Department of Transport to promote the Safe Routes to School program, of which, as you may know, there is currently a full-time employee. Obviously, having an additional $300,000 will be hugely advantageous. However, we still find we are in the situation where every program is driven really by individual teachers who are looking to start bike programs, and we have very little top-down buy-in, and this is what I would like your support in doing. Earlier today, I emailed to 5 of you a link to Portland's Safe Routes to School policy workbook, which is basically an off-the-shelf policy supporting Safe Routes to School, which would effectively cover all of our activities and Safe Routes to School. There is one other thing, because I see I only have 30 seconds, and that is the bike-friendly motorist program that we are currently working to incorporate into the city's driver's ed requirement. School district has a similar driver's ed requirement, and it would be very easy to tailor this to be a requirement for anybody using a school district vehicle as well, and this would also be a big step forward. So thank you very much. As I said, I have sent out links to both of those programs. We are always available to discuss how to move this program forward. Many thanks.
Did you time yourself there? It's pretty impressive. Thank you very much. And we don't often, that concludes public forum, right? Yes. Thank you. I know we don't generally respond to public forum. Having had the chance to have a conversation with Mr. Kreitman earlier, I do intend, and this is sort of a big deal, For those of us that are familiar with the Metropolitan Planning Organization's work, the Santa Fe MPO has been working around on Safe Routes to School, and this is a significant amount of money for that grant. And I do hope to work with the bike community and work to bring a resolution to this board to support this bike work and the expansion of the Safe Routes to School and the awareness around the importance of walking and biking and how much healthier a community it can make us. So thank you, and thanks for being here. Okay, student board announcements and follow-up. Ms. Torres, I guess that's you.
Hi guys. So I have a brief update for everybody, and that is that some of our Capitol High Jaguar basketball players went to go support kids at play this weekend, and our cheer team recently cheered for the semifinal basketball game and went to competition. Our boys won the district tournament game, and Seth Arroyo received the player of the game. And our HOSA members received Chapter of the Year and were awarded the state championship banner for 2020. Thank you.
Congratulations. Good stuff. Thank you, and it's good to see you. Board announcements and follow-up. Anything there? I guess is one thing I'd say, or did you have something? I'm hoping that we can do two things sort of in writing. We talked about for the reimagining process that we are, just a reminder that we're meant to send to Dr. Garcia the items that we think can be the board commitments up front ahead of our study session at the end of this month. So all of us, I hope, are thinking about those values and commitments that the board can make to the community as we hopefully move forward in this process. And I am hoping that we can do the same, in part for my ongoing frustration of the compressed timeline for us working on the budget, which really just is what it is because of the way our state works and the legislature and the allocation and the public education department and the unit value. But I'm hoping that we can also think about them, and I just realized for me it would help to occasionally put them in writing to Dr. Garcia, and I'm hoping that when we get to discussing and adopting board priorities for the budget, we might even have a list of what we have sent in and what has been suggested that we can then discuss, amend, and adopt as a board. So two things I'm hoping to ask of board members: email board commitments around the process to reimagine the district, and priorities for the budget as we look through the budget presentation that we went through last year, which did list some of the previous year's board priorities. And so that can at least be a starting point for our discussion. Anything else? Okay, superintendent announcements and follow-up. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. We have our spelling bee winners. I hope we have some of them here this evening. The Santa Fe Public Schools Concurso de Letreo 2020, our Spanish Spelling Bee 2020 winners. I hope you're here today, and if you are, as we call your name, if you would come forward, and then we'll come down. We're going to take our pictures with you. So I'm going to announce first for the Spanish Spelling Bee, if you would come over here, and then for the Del Norte Credit Union County Spelling Bee winners, if you would stand over here, and then we'll go down and take pictures with you. So first of all, the winners for the Concurso de Letreo 2020 Spanish Spelling Bee 2020 winners are: third place, Jocelyn Ortiz Rascon, 7th grade, Ortiz Middle School. Come on down. Yay! Second place, Janeth Ochoa Sanchez, 8th grade, Milagro Middle School. And first place, Rogelio Sebastian Holguin Loya, 8th grade, Mandela International Magnet School. And then, from the Santa Fe Public Schools and Del Norte Credit Union Counting Spelling Bee winners, Santa Fe Community College, grades K through 8. 3rd place, Noah Burdick, 8th grade, Santa Fe Prep. And I don't know if we are coming or not. 2nd place, Camila Carrion, 5th grade, Carlos Gilbert. And I hope that I do justice to your name. 1st place, Anirudh Nanda, 6th grade, Carlos Gilbert. So congratulations. We're all so very proud of you, and the board will be presenting you certificates in recognition of your honor. So ahora le vamos a dar un certificado a todos aquí que están aquí con nosotros esta noche y vamos a tomar foto. Si los padres quieren tomar fotos, pueden ahora tomar. So we're going to take pictures, and if some of you would like to have photos, we will. You can do that while we're taking the district photos. Thank you.
Secretary Garcia.
Just really quick, congratulations. You guys should be proud of you. Individuals should be proud of yourselves. That's great. Ever since computers came out, I forgot how to spell, but I'm still glad that some of our students in our community are still doing good at spelling. So congratulations, especially to your parents. Thank you for getting involved and being involved with your children, because this is awesome. Great job.
That's good.
Count of three, say spell. Count of three, say spell. 1, 2, 3. Spell.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, the next is preparations for coronavirus, unfortunately, COVID-19. And we're ensuring a comprehensive response should we experience the effects of the coronavirus in our community. I have a team of district level staff. Christy Yonda Wagner is heading that and working with me and the team to develop a plan within the department, within the district, of how we keep operations going, right? How do we make sure people get paid? How do we maintain security? We've divided the plan into 3 major components: preparation, response, and recovery. We have been working, providing information that we are providing to the community. Many of you may have already received that information. We're providing it in English and Spanish. We have a section on our website where you can get the up-to-date information. We also are asking our principals to provide that information to their families. Again, it's in English and Spanish. Recalling my work in 2009 with the Department of Health during the H1N1 swine flu pandemic, the schools have responsibility for communicating directly with families. So that's why we've gotten started with that. We want to ensure that all students and faculty and staff are healthy and safe. We've begun efforts already to, we call hyper sanitization of the schools. Just to be safe, we've put out reminders about how to stay healthy. We sent a flyer home in English and Spanish that just has some basic guidelines. Here's some copies if you did not receive an email of the communication that went out to families. And we will continue to keep you posted. My guess is that we will, well, it's not my guess, we will be monitoring attendance rates daily for students and staff to see if we see an increase. Again, if we're seeing a high increase, we would communicate with Department of Health and the Public Ed Department to seek guidance about whether or not we're going to close. From my experience in the past with the H1N1 situation, you start to have cases within your schools. That doesn't mean you necessarily close at that point. That we'll have to wait for more guidance. So I think, we know what pretty much the public knows. Excuse me, but we are doing all the planning to ensure that we can continue to educate our kids. We are fortunate in our district that all of our students have access to Chromebooks. And so we are devising a plan so that we can continue your children's education should we have to close school. What is most important for parents to be thinking about, parents and families, should we have a school closure, who will watch your children? Because there's a good possibility that you will not be able to send them to recreational centers or to public child care opportunities. Most likely they will be closed. So now that we're not in a crisis, if we should close, it's the time to make plans with your friends, with relatives, neighbors. Who is going to watch your children if you have to go to work and there is no school? So that's the most important thing that families can do right now. And then just reminding your children about basic hygiene, but also don't go to school if you're sick. Lastly, if people have not received the flu shot, the Department of Health is recommending that if you haven't gotten a flu shot, get your flu shot. May not protect you, but it might make it less severe if you were to contract the virus. Next, some really exciting news. Santa Fe Public Schools received from the New Mexico Public Ed Department a $2.71 million grant. Yes, folks, $2.71 million. I want to thank Linda Sink and her team. Dr. Lomax, I believe, is here in the audience, that wrote that grant. It supports literacy, development of children from birth to 12th grade. This is over a 5-year period. It starts now in February and ends in June of 2024, primarily looking at pre-literacy skills of children under 5 years of age and increase the percentage of elementary, middle, and high school students acquire the state's language literacy standards. We are really focusing these dollars to disadvantaged or traditionally underserved children. The New Mexico Society of Technology and Education selected the outstanding teacher and leader from Santa Fe Public Schools. They recognized at the state conference in February outstanding teacher Judy Van Lucien. Is she here today? So congratulations, Judy, and I don't believe that we have a certificate for you, but please stand. We want to recognize you and thank you. She is a dedicated 6th grade teacher at Pinona Elementary School. She was honored for having a significant positive impact on technology use and demonstrated her ability to both deliberately plan for and incorporate the use of technology for improving the educational setting. For the past few years, she has used infographics and student-centered math movies to help students to deeply understand a topic. Her students have also participated in the statewide Future City Challenge, spending many hours beyond the school day developing their ideas and physical and virtual models. Again, congratulations. And outstanding leader, Acequia Madre principal, Kathy Casals, if you could stand, Kathy. She also was recognized at the conference for her exemplifying the skill set of a great leader, was honored for having significant positive impact on technology use, her efforts to involve the community through partnerships and collaboration, and demonstrating her ability to develop a systemic plan for school effectiveness and student learning. She has taken on the task of transforming her school site through the integration of computer science, technology, project-based learning, and by providing tremendous support through multiple forums for her teachers. Her enthusiasm permeates throughout because of the positive learning culture that she has created. She's her second year with us in our district, and so we're very fortunate to have her, and so congratulations for being recognized. We have a Pinon Elementary student who was selected to attend the Young National Young Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C., Esteban Chavez. I don't think Esteban is here, but Esteban is a fifth grader at Pinon Elementary School, selected to take part in the Junior National Young Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C. He was nominated for the program by his third grade teacher. He is a premier leadership development program for middle school students, and we're just very proud of him for being included in that. And then we had a follow-up process for technology on buybacks. Our general counsel, Josh Granata, has researched the process for technology buybacks. A written determination needs to be made that the property is valued at less than $5,000 per device, and that the property is worn out, unusable, or obsolete. Next, a notification needs to be provided to the state auditor 30 days prior to disposal with this written determination. The district must first attempt to dispose of the property to tribes and pueblos, and then other state agencies, and then local bodies, and then other school districts. And it just goes on, then educational institutions, and then municipalities. So it's, and then it goes through a competitive seal bid. So, I mean, we just can't give it to students. It's obviously a lot more complex than we realized. If the district is unable to dispose of the property to these entities, the district may donate, if the property has no value, to a 501c3. Lastly, if none of the above is possible, the property can be destroyed. Alternatively, the property can be used as a trade-in or exchange in compliance with the procurement code. This is the avenue that we are currently looking into. As you look at all the hoops you've got to go through, it makes sense what the Instructional Technology Department has recommended. Any questions on that follow-up? And thank you, Josh, for that. My goodness, no wonder they went that path. A reminder to submit ideas on the board commitments, but you already did that. Capitol High School students to exhibit work on Canyon Road. The art department is delighted to share that Capitol High School students will be exhibiting recent work next month at K Contemporary Art at 600 Canyon Road. The exhibit dates are March 29th through the 31st. An artist reception at K Contemporary Art will be held on Sunday, March 29th, and sale of artworks created by students will go up for sale. One half of the sales will go directly to Capitol High artists, and the other half is donated to the school's art program. Works that are not sold during this special preview exhibition will be auctioned off at the Art Smart Dinner and Auction on April 4th at La Fonda on the Plaza. So if you want more information on those dates, I'll have Almost send those to you. I wish I could stop, but there's just more awards. Every meeting, I think it's just so phenomenal of all the great things that are happening in our district. P&M Business Energy Star Awards as Santa Fe Public Schools was recently awarded 2019 P&M Business Energy Efficiency Awards. The first award was for the energy efficient construction of Milagro Middle School. The second award is for multiple retro commissioning projects throughout the district, which are basically a building tune-up to make sure everything is operating efficiently. PNM said, congratulations to Santa Fe Public Schools for your outstanding energy efficiency projects, and thank you for your commitment to New Mexico's future. And then it just goes on and on. But so proud of our General Services Department, and I'm glad that you're here today, Gabe, and to Lisa Randall for her leadership, and to the board for their work on sustainability. Social media respect video. Are we ready? You know, we have really upped our game in the video department, and the community engagement department, and Cody Donarski, who is our new videographer. But I want to thank Santa Fe High and Capitol High. They had a very close and exciting game. But after the game, there was a little kerfuffle, to say the least. Coaches and fans and players getting into disagreements. After the incident, leaders from both the teams decided they didn't want to see something like this happen again. They worked together to create a video. The video has now gone viral with nearly 20,000 views and more than 200 shares on social media. My hat's off to Larry Chavez, the athletic directors, the principals, the coaches, and the students. And anything else that you want to add, David?
25,250 shares now.
Oh, since this report was written? Yeah, it is just really amazing. So we're going to show it to you now. It's very short.
On the court, it gets intense, but at the end of the day, it's nothing but respect. We respect them, they respect us. The coaches respect each other.
On behalf of Capitol High School,
On behalf of Santa Fe High,
On behalf of Santa Fe Public Schools,
we ask everyone to respect one another. Using social media in a negative manner not only hurts the officials, coaches, and parents, ultimately it hurts us, the players.
Very short, but it got the message across.
It's the most viewed video in the history of our Facebook page, and we've been getting compliments from around the state, athletic directors, administrators. So it's been going really well.
So congratulations to stepping it up. In the following game, they had no problems, right? So it really, the kids, leading that effort. Carmen wants to say something.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Madam President, Dr. Garcia, members of the board, I just want to say I was invited to Acequia Madre by their principal, Kathy Casaus, to see their presidential gallery. It was a 5th grade presentation. The 5th graders all selected a president to research, and they did a poster. Then they also did a little video that went along with their president. It was very impressive. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
And lastly, one more award, the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. And at this point, the following teachers were nominated for awards in these categories. Judy Van Lucien, Pinon Elementary School, who we just acknowledged by me for receiving the New Mexico Society for Tech and Education Teacher of the Year Award. Again, congratulations for being nominated for this amazing award. Julia Moray de Ruggiero from Amy Beale teaches 6th grade and regularly integrates computer science into her core academic lessons. And Charlene Abeta from Atalaya, who does it all from being a Google Suite educator to microbits to stop animation to digital citizenship. And so we're just so excited for all of these. We wish you all the best of luck. And that concludes all the great news. Are they here? No.
Well, congratulations to all, and those of you who are here, thank you for coming, and well done. We appreciate having you as part of the Santa Fe Public Schools. Okay, moving on to our presentation on safety video training. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Executive Director for Safety and Security.
Secretary Garcia.
Just really quick, when an individual actually attended the last 3 basketball games between our 2 different high schools, and it was a great crowd, great intensity, and I think this is actually really good that we put the video together, because sometimes you can see some of those fans out there as well as the players, and we all live in this one community together, and people ask me, who are you for? I said, I'm actually for a good game because the Capital High School is in my district. However, it's just really good to see the leadership there. I was talking to Larry Chavez there at the Capital game, and just to remind everybody out there, we all live in this community together, and there's no reason to actually fight amongst each other, because when it comes down to it, we are Santa Fe. And whenever we go to Albuquerque and we play the other schools from different cities, hopefully we all unite with our one team, whoever makes it. Hopefully they both make it. That'll be very interesting. So I just wanted to say thank you for that video, because that was actually a good video, and just to get the players and definitely the parents and the fans, the guardian angels or guardians, to just remember out there it's a basketball game, and we all live in this community, like I've already said 3 times in my sentence. But thank you for that, because it's needed to remind people that we're all one team, right? One community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Garcia on the safety video training.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'd like to introduce our Executive Director, Mario Salvidres, Executive Director of School Safety and Security, Mario Salvidres. And with him today are Kathy Casaus, Principal at Acequia Madre, who was part of the group that helped us look at all the input that we received from our community regarding safety training. And Sue O'Brien, our Executive Director of Student Wellness, is also here with us today. For the new board members, it is mandated by the state of New Mexico through statute that we do safety training around lockdowns, around shelter in place. And how we go about doing that is up to every district. We have, we're fortunate to have the trained staff that we do. We have, I think, some of the best procedures, but we was recommended that we do training. And most of the commercial run, hide, fight videos are pretty intense, so the board recommended that we create our own. And we did, and that's our first effort in doing that. But the feedback that we received was that for 6th grade and above, that it was fine, but that 5th grade and below, it was a bit intense. And so we heard that feedback, and we had a panel, a group of people to assist us, particularly those people that have a background in child trauma or understand children from a behavioral or mental health approach. 3 of those individuals I'd like to mention by name, and then Mario, if you can mention the rest of the committee. But we had trauma-informed expert Dr. Kathy Courtney, who leads the Anna H8 Institute. We had April Miller, who runs the Sky Center. We had Crystal Ibarra, who is a master social worker who does therapy and has worked with children and is part of our community engagement team. As I mentioned, we have Sue O'Brien, who's been in student wellness for a number of years. And then can you mention the rest of the committee? I was also on the committee myself. Go ahead, Mario.
President Noble, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, board members. The other members of the committee consisted of Principal Dr. Candice Flint, obviously Principal Kathy Casaus, Assistant Principal Anna Plaza, David Carl, Chief Community Engagement Officer, Vanessa Romero, Associate Superintendent, Dr. James Lujan, Associate Superintendent, and Mark Lewandowski, Emergency Manager, and also myself, of course.
So we met, we went over the feedback, we had a lot of discussion about pedagogical approaches, what is best for families, for kids, and I'm going to just tell you the end, and then we'll show you the information, the video. I do want to ask, though, I've left in my briefcase in the car the scripts for the K3, or do you guys have them? Do you all have them? Oh, well, terrific. Then I don't have to worry. You have them. Thank you, staff, because I thought I was supposed to bring them, and I failed. So what the committee recommended was a script for kindergarten through 3rd grade and a very different video that Principal Kathy Casaus worked on and stars in, and that you'll get to see, and helped with the script also for K3, did you not, Ms. Casals? And so she took the lead, but it was a team effort, but she took the lead in this. And then we also developed talking points for parents so that they can talk to their children about how, if it's going to be a kindergartner through third grader, why the teacher is explaining what to do. We have a training video for the K3 teacher on how to talk to the children. And then we also had a list of FAQs. None of this is on the website yet. We typically don't put presentations on the website till after we've met. This isn't an action item, but it was so controversial the last time that I felt you should just see for yourself what it looks like and what we're doing. I feel at this point that we should proceed. I know the previous board said to take the input, to make the modifications, which we've done. I'll tell you, and I'm going to be very explicit, why I feel that we need this kind of training. I know that there are many states and there are many agencies that say that the videos cause more harm than help and that the incidence is very low. And I understand that. And that's why we made our own videos, one. But two, we have had many lockdowns and many shelters in place for incidents that maybe don't even involve the district. We have had them for weird situations like coyotes or other weird animals in the area. We had one lockdown over Thanksgiving that involved Milagros, Santa Fe High, and Eco that lasted about 4 hours. When you're in a lockdown, you cannot open the door if a student is left out and is banging on the door, let me in. You cannot open the door. If a student should be, in particular younger ones, I really worry about them, that there is a lockdown and they're in the restroom or they're at recess, I'm worried about what they'll do. But they run out of the building? Do they know what to do? And that's where this type of preparation explains to them what they need to do if they are not in the classroom and following the teacher's direction. And to be honest with you, that's, if I have grandchildren, I have children, but if my grandkids, who are 15 to a few months, were the older ones in school in that situation, I'd want them to know and to have every advantage to be able to protect themselves. And so that's where we're coming from. And we think that we've really taken children's psychological health into great consideration, and I want to thank the community for their input. I think they helped us make better videos, a better product. And as we rethought it, we're very grateful for that feedback. So Mario, whatever you want to do at this point. Or Kathy, I don't know, Sue, do you guys want to talk after the video? Okay.
The safety and security of our staff and our students will always be a priority for us.
Safety needs to be big for the kids here. We need to feel that they're well taken care of all the time. Parents need to feel that they're always safe here at school.
Students are more likely to be engaged when they know that they're safe.
The students need to know that if there's no other safe place in their life, it's here at school with the teachers and the staff and other students that are here.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about some important stuff that happens here at school. Here at school we do a lot of practicing of things. We practice reading and writing so that we can get better at it. We practice math so that we can get better at it. But what are some of the other things that we practice at school fairly regularly? Yes?
We practice fire drills.
We do. Why do we practice fire drills? Yes?
In case if there's a real fire.
That's right. We need to keep you safe in case of a real fire. What are some of the other things that we practice here at school in order to keep you safe? Yes?
Lockdown.
Oh, okay. And why do we practice a lockdown? Why might we be practicing a lockdown?
If there's a stranger on campus.
That's right. If there's a stranger on campus, they might be here to hurt us, and so we lock down to keep ourselves safe, and we do practice that. So if there's a stranger here, the principal might tell us to go into a lockdown. How do we know if it's a stranger and not just somebody here to visit? Yes?
If they don't have an ID or a visitor sticker?
That's right. If they don't have an ID or a visitor sticker, we don't know if they're a good guy or a bad guy on our campus, do we? How would we know if it really is a bad guy? If they're not wearing a sticker, is there another way we might know if it's a good guy that's on campus? Yes?
Walking around with their staff or like the principals?
That's right. If they're walking around, somebody who knows them is walking them around the school. If they don't have a badge, then they're probably okay. But what do we do if somebody knocks on, say, one of our side doors over here and asks to be let in? Yes?
Not to go to their office.
Do you open the door to tell them that?
No. You like make signs.
Okay. So you would point them to the front office and say, go get a badge, right? Okay. So we never open the door to anybody that we don't know. Is that right? Okay, good. We're not always going to be able to look for a weapon or if the stranger doesn't have a badge or a volunteer sticker, are we? So if you look at somebody and you think, well, they look okay, they don't have a weapon, is it okay then to open the door for them?
No.
Never, right? Never open the door for anybody. And what, again, do we tell them to do? Go to the front office and get checked in. That's right.
But when it comes to things like lockdowns and any of the drills that we do, going over the steps with them ahead of time so that they're prepared and know what to expect, and then practicing and teaching them that it is a super important skill to have to know what to do in a lockdown if I'm not in the room, or if they're not even in a classroom, if they're at lunch, and also knowing where to go, where the next safe place is if it's not here in the building.
Of it happening are very small that somebody would come onto our campus to hurt us, but we need to be prepared just in case something does. If somebody comes in and wants to harm us, the principal is going to tell us to go into a lockdown situation. And one of the most important things to do is to listen for directions if we go into a lockdown situation. When we have a lockdown and there's a danger on or near our campus, one of the things that we may need to do is follow the run, hide, fight scenario. What are some of the things that we do in a lockdown situation?
Lock the door.
Okay. We do lock the door. Yes.
We can also put the rhino down.
That's right. We would put the rhino down. Okay. Who knows how to engage the rhino? You do? Mm-hmm. Would you like to show us how to do that?
Yeah.
When the rhino is put down, if somebody comes and knocks on the door and tells us it's all clear, are we going to necessarily believe that?
No.
No. So who's going to actually unlock the door for us? That's right. The principal is the one that has the tool that will unlock the rhino for us. So we should never unlock the door ourselves until somebody comes and actually lets us out, right? And there's something else that we might do to stay safe in a lockdown, and that would be we have to close the blinds, absolutely.
Barricade doors or windows?
Absolutely. We would want to barricade the doors and the windows. There might be something else we need to do in a lockdown situation. We do need to hide. Where's the best place in the classroom to hide?
Away from the windows and doors.
That's right. That would be a great place to hide. We could also hide in a closet or in a storeroom. And we know that we have to be really quiet so the bad guy can't find us. But what do you do with your cell phone? Yes?
Turn it on silent and put it away.
Absolutely. That's what we would want to do with our cell phones. It would probably be a good idea to not make any phone calls while we're in lockdown, but if there's a really serious situation going on, we need to keep the cell phones off or silent so that nobody can find us when we're hiding. What happens if you're not in your classroom and a lockdown is called?
run to the nearest classroom.
Okay. Where else could you hide if you...
you could hide in like a bathroom.
Okay, you could hide in a bathroom. And what happens if we're outside at recess and we hear a lockdown getting called? Yes?
We would run into the school and go to our classroom.
You're right. The safest place might be inside in your classroom, or one of those other places that we talked about where you could hide, such as a bathroom, a closet, or an office. If you are on campus and somebody tells you to run, what are you going to do in that situation? Yes, sir.
Probably like try to run away and get as much distance as you can from them.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Where do you think a good place to run to might be?
Off campus.
Absolutely. If we do have to run off campus, how are you going to know where to run? Yes?
We have to run, like we listen to a teacher or principal or something to direct us.
Absolutely. Or your principal or other safety officials in your school, right?
Yeah.
So they might be helping with where to go if you have to run. We have a neighborhood nearby, right across Paseo del Sol, where we could run and ask neighbors for help. So we could run into that nearby neighborhood and ask neighbors to call 911 to ask for help. Now, we've talked about running and we've talked about hiding, but one thing that might happen if a bad guy comes into our school is that we might have to fight. Now, we probably won't ever have to do this, but if we do, what are some ways that we might be able to fight a bad guy? What if you're running? If you're trying to run away, would it still be a good idea to throw something at somebody? Yes. Why would we want to do that?
So maybe if we throw something at them, maybe they'll slow down.
Absolutely. They might slow down and it might distract them. If we're in a lockdown or we've had to run, we can use the red backpack in case anybody's hurt or needs help. If we're in a lockdown and it's been a while and someone has to go to the bathroom, is it okay to go out in the hall and go to the bathroom during lockdown? No. This is the lockdown bucket, and there is one in every classroom. So hopefully you'll have some friends that'll help you with some privacy. The bucket has a seat. Inside the bucket are some supplies. What you would need to do is open the bucket, take out the supplies, put a plastic bag in it, into the bucket, and then that's what you would use for a bathroom, just like if you're camping. We've learned some really good things. Let's go over some of those things that we've learned again. What are some of the things that we can do in a lockdown? We can run. That's right.
We can hide.
That's right.
And we can fight.
Absolutely.
I'd like to create an environment where they can come to school and feel safe and feel like they can just be whatever age they are for as long as possible and feel like they have the freedom to do that without worrying about the things that happen in the grown-up world. Just be a place where they can forget about that and enjoy childhood.
Schools should be a safe haven for everyone. You know, we're in the community and everyone should come to school feeling safe. I mean, it's a place of learning, but students also should feel safe.
You know, you have to take trainings extremely serious, especially when they're about safeties. That's the most important role as an educator and as a coach, just making sure that your students and your players are safe.
The likelihood of you needing to use this training is very low, but should there be an emergency, you'll be prepared. So whether you're an elementary student, a middle school, or a high school student, you know, I want you to enjoy being a kid, enjoy being a teenager, and enjoy being a student in the Santa Fe Public Schools.
This is, I wanted to say, Mario, this is the video for which grades? 4, 5, and 6.
Correct.
So there were references that were taken out that people had concern about. And they were very comfortable with this for the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. But kindergarten through 3rd grade there's not a video. There is a training video for staff, but I would like for whomever, I guess Ms. Casals, to talk about that, and anyone else that wants to chime in.
Board President Noble, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, and board members. We looked at this video and we prepared a script for the principal to use with children in the classroom. So the expectation is the principal will go into the classroom, sit down with the class. There will also be a counselor with the principal or assistant principal or an administration member and the teacher, so that everybody has eyes on the students as we're doing this. So the principal or administration person will read through the script and be asking children questions. So it's very interactive. And I think the part of it is being flexible as to what the children are asking and what their questions are. The counselor is there to watch the reactions and see if we need to follow up with any of the other students. We felt that this was the best way to handle the needs of that age group. Then looking at this video for 4th through 6th, that's meant to be presented in the classroom also with someone, again, keeping eyes on the students to see their reaction and to see if we need to have any follow-up with those students. Any other questions?
You know, when we, good evening, Board President Noble, Superintendent Garcia, members of the board. Our mission is not to traumatize, but actually to reassure our students that as adults, we've got this. You know, we do that with our drills currently, our evacuation drills and our shelters in place and lockdowns, and that's what we want to be able to do in a very potentially vulnerable situation, that our kids look to the adults to say, we've got this.
President Noble, Dr. Garcia, Superintendent, board members, we did this because we also implemented, when I came on board, doing lockdown drills, shelters in place through passing periods, like Dr. Garcia has said. And we found that a lot of the students needed a little bit more guidance, particularly the younger ones. When they're out in recess, what are they to do? We can't have expectations, high expectations, without showing them the path to success. And I think this gives them something to fall back on and say, I know what to do here. I'm okay. So this is what we came up with. The way of distribution, if it's approved by the board, it gives us guidance on what we should do next. We've been working with Dr. Neal and Dr. Ryan on Open Canvas, which will be the way we'll distribute the video to the schools, to the teachers, and et cetera. And we'll stand for any questions.
There's a little bit more, if you don't mind. There is a training video where Ms. Casals actually did this with a group of students at a Sequia Madre and got permission from the parents for them to be videoed. But she demonstrates so that the principal that's going into kindergarten to 3rd grade has a model for how you talk to the children versus the video. And it's very effective. I think in terms of how the kids responded to it, it was very informative. It wasn't scary. The kids were really engaged. What grade did you do? She did it with 1st graders. And they were asking, you want to talk about that? I mean, I wish we had brought a clip, but.
They were asking all kinds of wonderful questions. And I think in the script we did put some frequently asked questions. Because sometimes they have a broader view of what's going on, or not quite a broad view. And they had a lot of questions about, why do we go into a lockdown? And then they kind of brainstormed some of those ideas. Why would we go into lockdown? How are we safe here? We talked about the difference between going outside if we had a fire drill. What do we do in the fire drill? Why did we do that? And it was just good. They're brainstorming, talking to each other, listening, and it was very effective, very comfortable, and I think and just having the training video for the principals to see what it could look like. And it can be a really nice setting.
But it did not appear the way that that script works and the way that the training video went, to see first graders being able to engage in an age-appropriate way. And it was just pretty matter of fact. The issue is that kids are, whether we have this training videos or not, lockdowns are going to continue to happen. That's, whether we have a training video or not, the lockdowns will happen, the shelter in place happens. And for some students, it's not going to happen, in some schools, it's not going to happen during a class period where everything is controlled. And that would be the worst case scenario in my mind, that we have a situation where we lock down and shelter in place. And I'm just repeating again because that's what's my biggest concern, and that a child will be frozen about what to do. And this really helps them talk about it and understand what to do. And again, I felt very comfortable with the variety of people and their levels of expertise around child mental health, that they felt we had struck the right balance. And so I'm not sure if we're at really whether or not the board wanted to approve or not. I think the former board had said just go forward with it and listen to what the parents had to say and address that. So it's really, I wanted to bring this and be very public about it and just see, it's not an action item, but just get a sense of what your thoughts are.
Ms. Torres.
Just out of curiosity, is a video going to be made for high school students?
President Noble, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, board members, yes, there is another video that is for 7th graders and to 12th graders, which is a little bit different from this. It goes a little bit more into some more explanations.
Okay, and just out of curiosity again, because I am a senior and I leave at 12:30 every single day, so say I was in the parking lot, is that going to cover what students or what seniors would have to do if we say a lockdown was called in while we were in the parking lot?
It will make you start thinking about what you should be doing and how to stay safe. Is it safer to run back into the school, or is it safer to stay where you're at, where you already have a place of shelter, basically? Or third, is it better to move into the community where somebody can call 911 and get you some first responder help or something? So that allows you the flow, depending on the situation, for you to basically have deductive reasoning and say, what am I going to do to keep myself safe?
Okay. And Madam President, on that point, student board member Torres, the feedback that we received from our community on that it was age appropriate for 7th through 12th grade. We just haven't been able to show it because we were revamping our whole protocol.
And these scenarios are covered that Ms. Torres brought up in the parking lots, or sort of what is your judgment? Is that covered in the training for high school, 7 through 12?
President Noble, Dr. Garcia, Superintendent, board members, yes, it is covered. Not specific about parking lots. It just gives you different places if you're out in different locations. We're not going to steer you so tightly into one little area and just focus on that. We have such a large footprint on our campuses, you can be anywhere, that we're just giving you ideas of what you should be thinking of how to keep yourself safe.
Any comments, questions? Yes, Board Member Bozay.
Madam President, Superintendent Garcia, members of the board, excuse my voice. I just wanted to say that as much as I dislike that this is a reality for us, I really appreciate the time and effort that was put in to not only listening to the feedback from the community, but in revamping this program. As I said a few weeks ago at our meeting, fear does inhibit learning. And so I think you've done a wonderful job at providing reassurance. I think this is a really nice way of doing that. And I was thinking back to when we were kids. I remember sitting in assemblies and practicing stop, drop, and roll. Like, we practiced it. We never caught on fire. But you need that information. And now I know what to do. We know these things to look for. And you have to practice them over and over again so that when you're in that panic moment, you know your body goes into automatic, okay, this is what my teacher said to do. They're there to take care of me, and this is my job now. And so I think that I also wanted to say that I appreciate the way that the education will be given, that it's not solely on the teachers to teach, because we know that their plates are very, very full. And so I appreciate that that will be done by administration. And I think it's very important to have the counselors present as well, and to offer follow-up and age-appropriate education. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you for listening so hard. Thank you to all of you who spent time and energy on this. I'm really glad that it's a conversation, particularly with the K through third graders. That seems like a much better way to approach it, because videos are tough, particularly for little kids. But thank you for this work. And, you know, as we do need to do this, and we have had so many weird lockdowns, it seems, since the school year started already, it does start to feel like having the skills, as Board Member Bose said, and the practice and knowing what to do is somewhat important, and at least being prepared for that. And, you know, so it's not as scary in the time, hopefully, when we do have these. And, you know, I hope that if we have to have lockdowns in the future, that they continue to be something that can be handled relatively quickly. 4 hours is a long time, but, you know, I know you're in contact with the police department and, you know, any other relevant agencies when something like that happens, and working to resolve it as soon as possible. And it does feel like preparation is important. And as I've said to Dr. Garcia, I hope that in those scenarios that there is, and I believe you've said you do, the sort of continual improvement process, but always a conversation with the police department, even the school staff, as to, okay, what do we need to do better the next time, or what do we need to learn from what what went wrong this time. But I know this has been a lot of thought, a lot of energy from, it sounds like, quite a few people with decent expertise, and I really appreciate all that you brought to it, so thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, team. Okay, moving on to action items. We are on the consent agenda. Which includes a whole bunch of things, including budget adjustment requests, the contracts over $50,000, proposal for the wide area network services, which is great to see that moving forward, minutes, as well as, oh, sorry, that's it. That's all the consent agenda. So, looking at the consent agenda, item A and items 1 through 4 there. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. There's a second by Board Member Bose.
Madam President, just under discussion, in the future, if staff could actually bring us a presentation as into the budget for ECO, because I see we're actually starting to do some design work and then hopefully some construction on it, and then we think we have some like $10 million that we need that is allocated for that based off of the last general obligation bond. But if staff can actually next time bring us a breakdown as to what we're doing, phase 1A, phase 2, 3, what that consists of, if you don't mind, please.
You'd like an update on the capital improvements for ECO specifically? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Now we are on to the acceptance of the 2019 audit report, and I would like to recognize that the chair of the Audit Committee, Carl Luff, is here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving on the committee, and really appreciate it. It's so important. We also have our auditor here, Ms. Jaramillo. Thank you for being here. So, Dr. Garcia, did you want to frame this for us?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Edmond, if you'd like to please make your way to the podium. Edmond, I'm going to call, what's wrong if he doesn't call you Gutierrez? Martinez? And I don't even know any Edmond Gutierrez. I have no idea where that one came from. But Edmond Martinez is our Chief Financial Officer. And I want to thank Edmond and his team and for getting the audit completed on time. For the new board members, just want to clarify that the board does not approve the audit, they just accept it. We're not allowed to release it until the state auditor gives us the okay to release the audit to the public. And I want to echo what President Noble said. Thank you, Mr. Luff, for all that you do for the Santa Fe Public Schools and for chairing the Audit Committee, and also to the Jaramillo accounting group. Thank you so much. And to Audrey, we appreciate working with you. So if you would hit the highlights, and then whoever you want to call up to join you.
Thank you, Madam President Noble, board members, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, and community members. Appreciate this opportunity to have just some specific items that were related to the audit for this process. As you know, the audit oversees not only operations in terms of financial transactions, but also other transactions that occur within the district. It is an overlay of all of the district's practices, policies, and procedures. And as a result, there is the audit financial statements that are issued, and those are then submitted to the state and reviewed by the state as well. Just in summary, as far as some of the items that were noted from the prior fiscal years, there were some findings that we were able to clear this year in terms of findings that were potentially repeat findings. We had 5 that the district was able to resolve, and also from ATC, there were 5 that ATC's charter school were able to resolve. We did have from the school district 4 repeat findings, of which included some related to internal procedures of bank reconciliations, student nutrition, and some personnel compliance issues. And those we're looking to remedy. We've implemented a corrective action plan, which is comprehensive in the sense that we're looking at not just those specific transactions, but all of our procedures and the way we are reviewing those. And so making sure that in the future we have the ability to resolve those, not only specifically related to these items, but other items that may come up. We did have also, in terms of the opinion from our auditors, as an unmodified opinion, which essentially means it's a clean audit, and there are no specific issues that have significant lack of being able to provide financial statements. Some districts do not have that ability to issue an unmodified opinion, and also this has been something that Santa Fe Public Schools has been able to maintain as far as an opinion for the past few years. And so we're ecstatic that is going to continue moving forward. The intent is to have the continuation in terms of the procedures, the corrective action plan, be communicated to the Audit Committee as they review the plan for the next fiscal year cycle, which we are currently starting. There is the need to have a new RFP process completed. Since this was the third year that we've worked with the Jaramillo and Accounting Group, and we appreciate their expertise in this. But the Office of the State Auditor's ruling requires that only 3 years as far as a contract service, with the possibility of an extension, but we do have to go through that procurement process again in order for that to be extended. So we're working on that RFP currently and planning to have that issued shortly to be able to meet the timeline as far as having the new audit process start. And also internally, we've worked on an audit work plan, if you will, as far as being able to have proper closure procedures for the district and being able to provide the financial statements from the district as well. We have some short-term goals and some long-term goals in terms of how we're going to produce this within our department. And so we're working on trying to get that plan in place currently. So the other items, and I don't know if Audrey or Carl want to speak to any of those items specifically, but I think just in terms of moving forward for the district, our main focus is trying to make sure that there's clear communication as far as what those practices are within business services and how those practices should be completed within the audit process itself. And so I'll stand for any questions at this time.
Looks like the board doesn't have any questions. I appreciate the transparency. I love the Audit Committee. And Dr. Gonzalez, I think you're the board member who's going to join me on the Audit Committee. You know, it's dry, but really important. And and I believe we are still missing one member because your appointee, Secretary Garcia, resigned, right? So you got to find somebody else. Because it's a great committee. It's stronger when, you know, when the membership is full. But Mr. Martinez, I appreciate what you and your team have done. I appreciate the work of the Jaramillo Group and the transparency that has been there and clear communication that has gone on with the committee. And between our auditors and the staff, and you know, it's making a lot of sense, I think, right now, and there does seem to be some good plans to really improve the foundation and structures of our financial operations and make sure that we get it all right. So thank you all for your hard work. Thank you again, Carla, for chairing it. You don't seem to get tired of it, and I so appreciate that, because we might need you forever. But it's great stuff, and thank you. So I guess I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 2019 audit report. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Thank you again, Audit Committee. And again, thank you to the Jaramillo Accounting Group.
Okay, moving on to item C, Resolution 2019-2020-6, declaring a fixed asset surplus and requesting approval to dispose of the same.
Madam President, move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second by Board Member Bozé. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the hard work. The New Mexico School Board Association's 2020 Excellence in Student Achievement Award nominations. I don't know if anyone has brought any suggestions. We do need to send this by March 20th, so this is our last open meeting before that time, so we need to do this tonight. Any thoughts, nominations?
Would you like me to help you with that?
Yes, please.
I don't have any right now, but I could ask Cabinet to make some recommendations, and then I could email that to you. We just won't take action, but I know that we can recommend 2 for free, and then anyone else, we have to do a $40 we pay to get the plaque made. And it can be a group, it can be school leaders, individuals who play an important role. Like one that comes to mind is Partners in Ed is one, or the Santa Fe Community Foundation, for all their work and Opportunity Santa Fe. Groups like that, I think. We recommended First Serve, I think it was last year.
Yep.
We've also done people on staff. But those are the kinds of groups. So if the board would like to defer that to me at this point and make a motion to that effect, we will do our best to find representatives within our community that have done quite a bit to help the district. And we'd be happy to assist you in that way if that's your pleasure. Whatever works for you.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to defer this to staff to give us some recommendations.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Good. Now, the motion is to defer to staff to give us recommendations. Is your thinking then, Secretary Garcia, that we would do this via email and just be able to raise any objections? Because we won't be able to discuss it in a meeting together before the deadline.
Nor can you do it on email either. So I would have to...
Well, we could individually send you our objections.
Yes, individually, let me know.
And I would suggest that if we agree a process, that we agree something like that, that makes it incumbent upon us to object, and the default is approval. That we set our default position there, but of course we can discuss a different process. So, and I did have one thought myself. I probably have a bunch more if I spend some time on it, but Kathleen Perea is a kindergarten teacher who has been at Gonzales Community School almost as long as Carl Luff has been chairing the Audit Committee. No, longer. And the exemplary patience with which she continues to shape these little minds is really extraordinary. And I have never seen her, I'm not sure she has ever lost her temper in 2 decades of teaching kindergarten and being in the parking lot with parents and that sort of thing. So there's one thought. I was also thinking about, the schools I represent particularly, but I do think we should look for perhaps a portfolio across the district and different roles, but also Principal Jack Lane at El Camino has been doing an extraordinary job in really stewarding that school. We had an ICE detention in front of the school a couple of years ago, which was very distressing to the school community, and he's been really wonderful about that. I know that it's a team, and there are lots of folks at El Camino who are a part of that as well, but that was my other thought. Okay, so yes, Board Member Bozé.
Madam President, Superintendent Garcia, you've inspired me. That was just enough time for me to to gather my thoughts. The person that comes to mind from one of the schools that I'm familiar with is Deborah Luke's school, who's a first grade teacher at El Dorado. She runs the school garden there and has fully integrated the school garden into her year-long curriculum that she does with first graders. My 10-year-old was lucky to have her when he was in first grade, and she I know the research that I've done about the benefits of kids working in the garden and how that carries over. And so I think that that's a very valuable and beneficial thing.
Hear the name again, could you?
Deborah Luke Skoll. And she continues to have relationships with kids long after they're out of her classroom, and I think it really puts a nice, strong foundation to their learning.
You guys want to vote on those? Do you want to vote on those? Or?
So we have a motion and a second that we should probably vote on, which was to defer it to staff. Board Member Bozé and I have put some names forward. I'd be inclined, given that this is not a large expense for us to think about, more rather than fewer nominations in this regard. What's the pleasure? Should we vote on the motion and leave that to the consideration of the superintendent and her team? Or should we vote on the motion and then potentially vote on those 3 names as well? That's probably the cleanest way to do it. Okay, so let's vote on the motion, which is ultimately to ask staff to make some recommendations that we will then engage only individually with the superintendent over email.
Madam President, I'd like to withdraw my motion, actually, and then if we actually want to bring those 2 or 3 individuals forward on a different motion, I'm okay with that.
Okay. I think that's copacetic. Is that withdrawal of the motion friendly to the second? In other words, I think you have to approve anything we do on that. Okay, so it's friendly. All right, so then do we want to make a motion to put forward these 3 names? So I'll make a motion to put forward the 3 names, Kathleen Perea, Jack Lane, and Deborah Luke Skoll. I would add that we ask for recommendations to round out a portfolio of nominations for the Santa Fe Public Schools that would come from the superintendent and the staff, the district staff. So that's my motion. Second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. We have a plan.
Thank you, Madam President.
Now we are on to action item E, the first reading of amended policy 337, graduation requirements. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The legislature and the PED have promulgated new rules around graduation requirements for various cohorts, beginning with this year's graduating class and what applies to them, but then subsequent classes. And it was well, he is a doctor, he's a JD, our general counsel, Josh Granata, and Linda Sink worked on this. I also participated a little bit on it. It was quite an endeavor. It is so complex. And typically when we bring a policy that we're amending, we redline. It would have driven you crazy. It was so massive. So we just rewrote it, and it's for clarity, because it would have been ridiculous to bring you a red line. So with that said, our Deputy Superintendent, Linda Sink, will go over the highlights of this policy.
President Noble, members of the board, Superintendent Garcia, this is the first reading of Policy 337, graduation requirements. And we felt that the statutes and regulations had changed enough since 2012 amendment, and the language was a little awkward to work with these new regulations, that we decided to rewrite or repeal and replace this amendment. So what I'm going to do today this evening is highlight some big ideas in this new policy. I'll highlight the new statutory requirement, statutes and requirements, and let you know where those are. To begin with, the most important sentence of the whole thing would be the graduation from district signifies that students have satisfactorily met all coursework and examination requirements established by the State of New Mexico Public Education Department, Santa Fe Public School Board, and the district. The second paragraph, a New Mexico Diploma of Excellence shall be awarded to a student who demonstrates competency in the areas of mathematics, reading, language arts, writing, science, and social studies, including the section of United States Constitution and New Mexico Constitution. I'll say that right now before I even forget that Josh Granada, our counsel, was very significant in helping us, my department, and especially myself as we worked on this for a number of hours. I could have not done it without him because it was very technical in the statutes. We had to go back and see what the statutes, and just reading this last sentence, for instance, United States Constitution and New Mexico Constitution, you would think they would not single that out since it is in the state standards, but they did. So we went back to make sure, did they just amend that to this, or was it actually in a statute? And it was written that way, so it was really very interesting. In the third paragraph, this is where you see some of the changes now, the new changes to the statute. In addition to meeting course requirements, students who entered ninth grade in school year 2016-17 and students who enter ninth grade thereafter must be able to demonstrate post-secondary and workforce readiness in 5 areas. This part isn't new to our assessments: math, reading, writing, and science and social studies. Students are required to demonstrate competency in the content areas either through demonstration of competency assessments established by PED, and so that would, like, for instance, be the Park-like test, or in this case, for this 11th grade year, an example would be the SAT, as we're using as the 11th grade test to satisfy ESSA. I suppose you want to know what ESSA stands for?
Every Student Succeeds Act.
Wow. President Noble, you're amazing. All right. So students are required to demonstrate competency in the content areas through the demonstration of competency assessments established by PED or other national or state assessments, such as the ACT, for instance. Or state assessments, students are required to take PED assessments during the 11th grade. And so for this year, for the first time, the students will be taking the SAT as one of their beginning, if you will, assessments. So for now on, I'm pretty sure for now on, we won't be taking tests in 9th, 10th, or 12th grade. It may be that students will have a choice to take the PSAT. If they don't have a choice, I'll come back to you on that. But the SAT is not a choice. Now, here's where the new wording comes. Students who do not demonstrate competency in a content area on their first attempt will be provided an additional opportunity to take the PED assessment. However, those students will be allowed to choose from a menu of options to demonstrate proficiency. So in this case, if they don't pass their junior year, which is next month, they don't pass that test, they're going to have a menu of options. And we have menu of options for every year for the next 3 or 4 years. I don't know if you have that with you, but what we'll do is we'll bring those back to you when we do the AR and let you see them. You don't approve the AR, but you can definitely see those because it's very interesting. And what they've done now is listed other national assessments and other state assessments that students can do and opt into using that if they don't do well on the SAT.
Yes, Dr. Gonzalez.
So PED administers the SAT. They administer all of the ESSA tests that we need to take. For instance, the Science SBA, for instance. So they administer those. As far as the other assessments, for instance, just for an example, the other option that students have even this year, especially the seniors, if they didn't pass the test from last year, they can also take, for instance, the end of course exams. Now in the past, we forced PED had all students take the end of course exams. That's over. We don't have to do that anymore. Teachers go back to giving their own tests. However, We do have the EOCs, which are provided by PED, and they are opted in again. They are options for the kids for their senior year if they don't pass their junior year, or last year's juniors didn't pass as well. As far as the ACT test, I think I would have to ask our council for sure if we're going to be able to, at our district, I would assume at our district we would be able to provide the other national assessments that we have in the past, so I can't imagine it would change, but if he has anything else to say about that, he can come and let you know. But for example, for years we have been providing the PSAT for 9th and 10th graders, so I would assume we would still provide them. So lines also, as I told you, 19 through 21 are new through those menu of options, and then also new are lines 23 through 27, students who entered 9th grade or entered 9th grade in 2017-18, and students who enter 9th grade thereafter may also demonstrate competency through local demonstration of competency. What we're choosing for that, well, let me go ahead and finish what we're formally putting in the policy. The Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education directs the superintendent to develop a local demonstration of competency. In our case, it will be the portfolio assessment. For students who entered 9th grade in school year 17-18 and students who entered grade thereafter. And Dr. Garcia has already asked us to move ahead, and we have a team right now that's working on that portfolio. So I'm very excited to bring that at some point. As we move through this policy, you'll be happy to know I won't be reading anymore because most of it is very similar. As I said, we had to change a lot of wording to have it flow. We had to change what came after this so that it all flowed in a better way for understanding. The next step plan has been in place in the past. The graduation requirements since the 2012 amendment has changed. We have a couple of things that changed since that policy which comply with the statute. For instance, we now have 24 units to graduate. It went from 23 to 24 now. We used to have 3 mathematics requirements. Now we have 4 units required. And probably one of the most exciting in the very latest is the computer science course. May count now as one of the mathematics. As long as you've gone up and been successful in your Algebra 2, you may take computer science as your 3rd or 4th course. And that it's also eligible for one of your science courses as long as you've passed the 2 main courses in science, and thereafter it can be an elective. Or there's different computer sciences, so there could be more than one elective. So this 3rd page goes on and gives some more specifics around science, social studies, physical ed, the career cluster, electives. Again, talks also about health education, and then talks about final exams shall be administered to all students in all classes for credit. There's the last sentence on there. So we're still now going back to the final exams instead of the ELCs. Finally, on page 4, it talks more specifically about the Diploma of Excellence in appearance and content, et cetera, would be the same across the district, symbols, et cetera. The transfer and other credits have not changed, I don't believe, since 2012. And so I think with that, the last sentence states the board authorizes the superintendent to develop administrative regulation for the implementation of this policy. And after tonight, if you approve us at this first round, if you will, our council and I will begin working on that AR. And we do get input from principals and from other members of my team, the CNI group, curriculum, et cetera. So depending on what Dr. Garcia would like us to do, we will definitely, I told them a few minutes ago, Dr. Garcia, that they could see a list of those options when we come back with the AR for interest's sake.
Yeah, we typically do not bring back ARs to the board. I will bring it just because, yeah, but I will going to tell you something. It's going to be so much fun reading. It's like would be as much fun as reading the encyclopedia or something on a topic that you absolutely hate. It is the most, I'm glad there are so many options for our students, but just, you know, usually the board policies are very simple, and then just this, so if you can get a sense what the AR is looking like, because this is not a simple policy. And so I just really want to thank you all for hanging in there and hanging in there with me, because it was not fun, but we got through it. But you guys really have done amazing work on it, Josh and Linda. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
I have one, actually. Just to back on page 1, the areas you emphasized, lines 19 through 21, and then the subsequent paragraph. Is it an either or an and both? Because we seem to say students who entered 9th grade in school year 2016-17 and thereafter must demonstrate readiness and required to take PED assessments, students who do not demonstrate competency in a competent area on their first attempt, and then we say school year 2017-18, students can do a local demonstration competency option. Is that meant to be instead of the test or in addition to?
It is an additional option.
Okay.
If they don't pass their 11th grade, the 17, 18, and thereafter may use the portfolio instead of all these other options that they listed.
So if I entered this year, I can just do a portfolio. I don't have to take the SAT to demonstrate competency.
So I just want to make sure that we're saying the same thing. You have to take the test because it's an ESSA test and we have to legally take that test. And it's really going to be important that we get students to do well on that test because it also rates us as educators, as usual, as Park did. However, it's, as you said, if they don't pass it, they could do the portfolio instead of, for instance, the ACT. So if all those options, they could choose the portfolio. But I want to assure you that this portfolio is not going to be a game. This portfolio will be a rigorous product of showing that they are competent in their different areas of math and science, etc. It will have such things as projects. It'll have writing samples. It could have writing samples, for instance, 9 through 12 to show this growth in their writing. And then there'll be a committee. I'm just stating that the ideas that I have, for instance, to keep it rigorous, and I'll be part of the group that will be looking at that portfolio.
But what I do want to say, in addition, is that with a little more time, the state will actually have the portfolio that they're going to be requiring and what the projects will look like. And so it'll eventually be a statewide process. And Santa Fe is one of the communities of practice districts that was selected to start working on that, along with a few other entities in the state. What I think is critical with this is that Ms. Sink made a very important point, and this is what may happen across the state, is that you'll have students pretty much not really give it their best to do well on the SAT, even though they have to take it, and then go to this alternate demonstration of competency. That very well can have people look at your high schools and say, oh my God, look at that, look at the scores, they're not that great. And so that is something that we're just going to have to deal with and see what happens if students don't take that route. I really hope we can encourage our kids to take the test.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I'm clear that in these two paragraphs, which seem to sort of say that there are two options if you've entered in 2017-18 and beyond, but ultimately we will be pushing to the competency assessments established by PED, and we will provide this portfolio option for anyone who entered in 2017-18 and beyond. Okay, but that will not be the preference.
Right.
And they will be rigorous.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you. It's really exciting to see that we can reduce testing.
Thank you.
Any questions, thoughts, discussions? Thank you for this work. Sounds like it was pretty complex, and now it looks relatively simple to us, but that's nice. Is there a motion? This is a first reading. We will see it again.
I move that we accept the graduation requirements, the redoing of it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the first reading of amended policy 337. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. We are now on board discussion and possible action. Given that Vice President Price is not here, we will push the civics education piece that's listed to the next board meeting. And one thing I just wanted to bring up is this issue of ICE, and seeing that APS has been working with ICE to basically say that they're not allowed to come onto school campuses, and just to say that I hope we can do an update. I know it's not coming until after spring break. We can bring this back as an item because it's not listed on the agenda, but ultimately I don't know that we can do enough to make our undocumented community members feel safe in schools, and constantly be sending the message that we are a sanctuary district, and that if we need to do any education around rights and that sort of thing, but there does seem to be an indication that and this appeared to be what APS was responding to, an uptick in ICE activity. So I just I'll mention that, bring it back, but I would like us to stay across everything we can do to, again, make our community feel safe and supported in the Santa Fe Public Schools. Yeah, Dr. Garcia.
Madam President, members of the board, I know we actually have it on the agenda for the All-Star meeting, which is all the district leadership, and updated the memo that the last time we issued it was a couple of years ago. At the Leadership Institute, we reminded the principals that we don't allow unlawful access and what the protocol and process is. I did an interview with Tom Tovbridge this morning on this same topic. So you request we put it on the agenda for an update, just so that we can make it more public to our community, what we're doing, and if we need to strengthen anything.
Yeah, and communicate it anyway with families.
Perfect.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Madam President, Dr. Garcia, members of the board, are we doing anything to encourage participation in the census?
Absolutely, Madam President, members of the board. So if you want that for discussion, do you want us to put it on for next time? Okay.
Yes, again, more communication, better. Okay. Brief check-in on board. Any other topics of board discussion to go on future agendas? Anything? Of course, you get another bite at that apple. Checking in on our work today on behalf of the Santa Fe Public School students and adherence to agreed norms. I'm inclined to take this off the agenda. It's not feeling like a particularly ripe thing. We tried it. But I'd say there's a few things, including the first reading of an amended policy around graduation requirements that seems really great for students. So thank you, and to everybody for their work. Any other thoughts on that?
Madam President?
Yes, Dr. Garcia.
Oh, you did. We didn't allow the wait time. I'm sorry. I jumped in too quickly. I don't know if anybody, you asked them a question and then I jumped in.
Now you go.
Now I go. I just want to thank, they're probably not watching, but just publicly thank Santa Fe Community College President Becky Rowley. We called their office. We didn't have the heat fully operational at your boardroom. And they just accommodated us and were absolutely terrific. No fee. They've just been great. And I just want to thank them. And I also just want to say whoever can stay back, staff, so we can just pick up the bottles and whatnot and just leave the room in best condition as we can. So thank you to Santa Fe Community College and to the president for their hospitality.
Yes, and I think I'm not stepping out when if there's going to be thank you, please, on behalf of the board. Certainly to Ruth and Alma and everybody else who's been involved. Mr. Celebrita standing out there and walking us all in the cold. We appreciate, it feels easy for us, which means there was work done in the background. So we appreciate that. Okay, on advanced planning, we will be together again at the end of March. Hard to believe, 3 weeks from now. There will be spring break and probably plenty of things that happen and a certain number of communications from Dr. Garcia that says do not reply all or whatever else. Anything else on advanced planning? Looks pretty straightforward. Okay, thank you all. We are adjourned. Can you read my check and scratch?